like any other.
On the next episode of Dutton Ranch.
But knowing when to walk away is just as valuable as knowing when to fight.
Put the gun down.
The episode 6 trailer just dropped, and I have never paused a trailer this many times in my life. Something massive is coming, and I don't think any of us are truly ready for it. Let me tell you something. When a trailer makes you feel like your chest is tight from the very first second, you know the show is doing something right. That's exactly what happened when I watched the Dutton Ranch episode 6 trailer. It didn't ease you in. It didn't give you a slow build. It threw you straight into the fire, and by the time it ended, I had more questions than answers. But that's the genius of it, because now I can't stop thinking about every single frame. Let's start with the atmosphere of this trailer, because that alone tells you so much about where this season is heading. Everything looks darker. Not just visually, but emotionally. The color tone, the way scenes are cut together, the music underneath it all. There's a heaviness to it that feels different from anything we've seen before in this season. It's like the show is telling you, whatever you thought was coming, think bigger. Think darker. Think deeper. And honestly, that excited me more than anything else, because Dutton Ranch at its best is when it stops holding back and starts going all in. Now, the tension between Beth and Bula has been something I've been watching very carefully ever since Beth and Rip showed up at 610 Pedals and asked for work. On the surface, it looked like a defeat. Like Beth, the woman who never bends, had finally been broken. But I said it before and I'll say it again. Beth doesn't do anything without a reason. She told Rip herself that she's there to learn everything about Bula and that ranch, because she doesn't trust her. Not one bit. And this trailer is starting to show us exactly what that means in practice. There's a moment in the trailer where Beth's expression shifts. It's subtle, and if you blink you might miss it completely. But her jaw tightens, her eyes change, and for just a split second, you can see the real Beth underneath the performance she's been putting on for Bula. That look tells me she's found something. Or she's getting close to finding something. And whatever that something is, it's big enough to shake even Beth, a woman who has stared down some of the most powerful and dangerous people imaginable without flinching once. What I find fascinating is that Bula is not walking into this situation blind. She's sharp. She told us herself that people with secrets make the best employees, because they're easier to control. She's been watching Beth and Rip, probably researching them more deeply now that they're under her roof. She thinks she holds all the cards. She thinks this is her game and she's already won it. That confidence, that certainty, is exactly what makes her dangerous. But it's also exactly what makes her vulnerable. Because the most dangerous moment for any powerful person is when they believe they've already won, and they stop paying close enough attention to what's happening right in front of them. And Beth is right there. Watching. Learning. Waiting. The trailer hints at a confrontation between these two women that could genuinely change the direction of this entire season. Both of them are playing chess while everyone else is playing checkers. Both of them are carrying secrets heavy enough to crush them. The difference is that Beth has always turned pain into fuel. She's been hurt, betrayed, and broken down more times than anyone should survive. And every single time, she came back harder. Bula hasn't seen that version of Beth yet. But I have a feeling episode 6 is the episode where she starts to. Now let's talk about Rip, because the trailer gave us something with him that I wasn't fully expecting, and it stopped me cold. We all know Rip Wheeler. We know what he is. He's not a man who talks much, he's not a man who shows weakness, and he's definitely not a man who lets the world see what's going on inside him. But there was a moment in this trailer where Rip looked lost. Not physically lost, not confused about where he's standing or what he's doing. But emotionally lost. Like a man who is starting to question whether the path he's on is one he can actually survive. And that, more than any action sequence or dramatic confrontation, is what got to me the most. Think about everything Rip has been through. He gave everything to Yellowstone. That ranch wasn't just a job for him, it was his entire identity. It was the place that took him in when he had nothing, when he was nothing, and turned him into the man he is today. Losing it didn't just hurt him financially or practically. It cut something out of him that I'm not sure has fully healed. And now he's working for Bula, a woman who is essentially the opposite of everything Yellowstone represented to him. Where Yellowstone was raw and real and built on loyalty and blood, Bula's world is polished and calculated and built on leverage and control. Rip doesn't belong there. And I think deep down he knows it. What the trailer is showing us is a man who is holding it together on the outside while quietly unraveling on the inside. And the only person who truly sees that is Beth. There's this energy between them in the trailer that feels different from before. It's not the fire and passion we're used to seeing between these two. It's something quieter and more fragile. Like two people who are exhausted from fighting and are leaning on each other just to stay standing. That dynamic between Beth and Rip has always been one of the most compelling things about this show, and episode 6 looks like it's going to push it into territory we haven't seen before. Because here's the thing about Beth and Rip. They work as a unit. They always have. When one of them is strong, they carry the other. When both of them are struggling at the same time, that's when things get truly dangerous. And right now, the trailer is suggesting that both of them are under enormous pressure simultaneously. Beth is playing a deeply risky game with Bula, trying to uncover secrets while pretending to be loyal. Rip is trying to function in an environment that feels completely foreign to everything he knows. And they're doing all of this while trying to protect each other, which means neither of them is fully focused on protecting themselves. That's the kind of situation where mistakes happen. That's the kind of situation where something slips through the cracks. And with a woman as observant as Bula watching their every move, one small mistake could unravel everything Beth has been carefully building since the moment they arrived at 10 Petals. The trailer teases this possibility in a way that made me genuinely nervous, which is not an easy thing to do when you've been watching this show long enough to know how these characters operate. But what really caught my attention was a brief shot that appeared almost like an afterthought in the trailer, tucked between two bigger, louder moments. Rip is alone. No Beth, no ranch hands around him, nobody. And he's standing completely still, looking at something off camera with an expression that is hard to read but impossible to ignore. It could be anger. It could be grief. It could be the look of a man who has just realized something he didn't want to know. Whatever it is, that shot felt important. That shot felt like a setup for something that's going to hit hard when it finally lands in the episode. And I cannot stop thinking about what he was looking at and what it means for where his story goes from here. Because Rip's loyalty has always been his greatest strength and his greatest vulnerability at the same time. He would do absolutely anything for the people he loves. He has proven that over and over again throughout this show in ways that were sometimes beautiful and sometimes absolutely devastating. That loyalty is what made him the backbone of Yellowstone. But it's also what makes him dangerous to himself, because a man who will do anything for love is a man who can be pushed further than he should ever go. And if episode 6 puts him in a position where he has to choose between his own survival and protecting someone he loves, I already know what he's going to choose. The question is what that choice is going to cost him this time. Now I need to talk about Carter, because this trailer gave me something with him that genuinely surprised me, and I think his storyline in episode 6 might end up being one of the most emotionally powerful things this entire season delivers. We've watched Carter grow from this broken, angry little kid into someone who is actively trying to figure out who he is and what kind of man he wants to become. And that journey has been one of the quiet gems of this show, the kind of storyline that doesn't always get the loudest reaction but hits you in a place that the bigger dramatic moments sometimes can't reach. Because Carter's story is about something universal. It's about a young person trying to build an identity in a world that keeps knocking them down before they can even get started. What happened with Dwight was traumatic in a way that I don't think the show is going to let Carter just walk away from. And honestly, it shouldn't. Dwight wasn't just a rancher who gave Carter a job. He was something Carter hasn't had enough of in his life. He was a steady presence. A man who showed up, who didn't have a hidden agenda, who just genuinely seemed to care about this kid and want to see him do well. For someone like Carter, who has grown up surrounded by chaos and loss and people who were either absent or harmful, that kind of steady and genuine connection means everything. So when that was ripped away from him so suddenly and so violently, it didn't just hurt Carter. It confirmed something he's probably always feared deep down. That good things don't last for him. That whenever something feels safe, it gets taken away. The trailer shows us a Carter who is carrying all of that weight but trying desperately not to show it. And that performance, that attempt to hold it together and look fine when he is clearly anything but fine, is one of the most heartbreaking things I've seen from his character so far. Because we know Carter. We know he doesn't open up easily. We know that asking for help or admitting pain is not something that comes naturally to a kid who learned very early that showing vulnerability only makes you a target. So he's going to push it down and try to keep moving forward and act like he's okay. But you can see it in the trailer. It's written all over him. He is not okay. And then there's Oriana. I've been paying close attention to the dynamic between Carter and Oriana since they first started spending time together, and the trailer suggests that episode 6 is going to develop that bond in a significant way. She was there when Dwight died. She saw what Carter went through in that moment. She saw him look into a dying man's eyes and understand with absolute clarity that what happened wasn't an accident. That kind of shared trauma creates a connection between people that is almost impossible to replicate through any other experience. It bonds people in ways that are deep and real and lasting. And I think for Carter, who struggles to let anyone get close, Oriana might become the one person he actually allows himself to be honest with about what he's feeling. That matters enormously for where his character goes from here. Because Carter at his best is Carter who has someone in his corner. Carter who is completely isolated tends to make decisions that are driven by anger and pain rather than any kind of clear thinking. And right now, with everything he's just been through, isolation would be genuinely dangerous for him. The trailer hints that Oriana is going to be that anchor for him in episode 6, and I'm so glad the show is going in that direction because these two have a natural chemistry that feels earned rather than forced. It doesn't feel like the show is pushing them together for the sake of having a young romance subplot. It feels like two people who genuinely understand each other finding their way towards something real.